There we go.
We live, baby.
Thanks, sir. Yes, Dr. Gordon. We may have got you going now. Did you have that person taking? Yeah, I'm going back. Thank you. All right, gentlemen, we need to get ready for group one way or another. We're about to have it.
Doc, I couldn't do it.
We live from South Point.
We should be.
Hey, you tuning in, like, subscribe. Yeah, put a comment. Yeah, hit that like button. Shout out to Mr. Warren.
There's a problem, fellas.
Shout out to all women at North Point.
What's happening, cuz?
Whoa.
We should be.
North Point say, yeah.
Hey, this is sugar.
Coming to you live. Hold on a second.
We are live.
I hear you. All right. So,
All right, we have gotten it up.
all right.
Do you know what that means?
That means we're live.
We are live, but you know what else it means?
It's group time.
It is group time. We need to get our sign-in sheets, both for TAP and HHSC, and get them going. And we need to be in group on time at 9 o'clock. So let's get going. And you need to have brought your books to group. And look, in both places, over at North and here at South, if you don't have a book, you need to let us know. We have a new process by which we are getting the books together, so you will have a book. But sometimes we're not going to know. The other thing that it means is that there's one client here at South that's not going to be able to graduate. It's a sad thing, but it happens from time to time. And there's one client here at South Point that's just not going to ever be able to graduate. No. We want you to graduate as quickly as possible. We're trying our best to get you out of here. But no, Sergio can never leave.
Hey.
He can never leave. He's stuck. He's stuck. And the reason he's stuck is because he knows how to do that.
If you don't go, they ain't going.
All right, gentlemen, we're getting started, so let's pull it back. At North Point, when you finish your sign-in sheets and stuff, we have to break. Make sure those go in my box, please. Look, if you have your book, which you're supposed to have your book because you're in group, then we're gonna look at page 57 again, just a little bit this morning, and then we're going to a worksheet. I don't know how long we're going to be there, but we'll be there for just a few minutes because I want you to be going through your book. And I know some folks have been here long enough that they've already gone through the book. What do you do when you finish the book? What do you do when you go through the book? Start over, just like the Bible. I've read the Bible from Genesis to Revelation to maps in the back. But when I get through with it, I start it back over because I'm going to guarantee you can learn something new. I'm going through a course on the computer and all of that stuff, and the girl's going so quickly, she said, write it all down. I can't write it all down as fast as she says it, so I may have to be going back through it before I can catch it all. But you ain't ever going to catch it all, so read it again. 57. HHSC and TAP, and this is early recovery, family involvement.
Yeah.
Early recovery, family involvement. So we're going to be talking a little bit about families today, but we're still into early recovery a little bit. And look, we talked a little bit yesterday, and one brilliant gentleman said, you know what, it can be like we're in early recovery for the rest of our recovery. And that's true. We want to move somewhere. We want to get to the place where we begin to mature in our recovery a little bit. But look, that's not necessarily what's going to happen for us, right? Especially if we don't take the steps to make sure that we can move from it. Early recovery sometimes, all the time, early recovery, the term early simply means that when I first began this journey, when I just got started with this journey, some of the junk is going to be in your life when you're sober 10 years from now. Yeah. Or you're sober 30 years from now. Some of that junk's going to get there. But you should at least 10, 15, 20 years from now, you ought to know what your triggers are. You ought to know what your relapse warning signs are, which are different than triggers, right? A relapse trigger is something that's going to make me want to use again, right? Want to make me go see some of those old people again. Want to make me go back dancing down there at Bubba's Bar and Grill, right? It's one of those. That's a relapse trigger if I wind up. But before that relapse trigger happens in my life, what happens? You got warning signs. Every one of us has unique to me warning signs that I need to know about. If I start, one of my warning signs is getting angry. When I start to find out that I'm getting angry about different things, and I'm letting little bitty things make me angry, letting little bitty things frustrate me and irritate me, then I know that's one of my warning signs for relapse. Because one of my triggers is anger. If I get angry, then I can get to myself and say, well, I'm going to do whatever I want to do because I want to do it. And that's what our emotions will do. When we allow our emotions to get over our intellect, we'll go do whatever it is we want to do. And can I tell you, I had a guy tell me this one time in group. He said, well, that's not a bad thing. How can that be a bad thing? I'm going and doing the things I want to do. That sounds like a good thing. I'm going to leave, probably not this afternoon, probably maybe this weekend. I'm going to go fly. You know why I'm going to go fly? Because I want to. I want to thoroughly, completely, and utterly enjoy that, and I'm going to fly. I may fly over this place. But not usually. I go out over the marshes and all of that stuff around Orange and stuff. That's just really nice. It's really neat to do. Yes, sir. Yeah, you can come go with me. I'm gonna have to get a bigger airplane. But, you go with me. But I do that because I want to. So why is it a problem for me to allow my emotions to get over my intellect so that I'll do what I want to? Because I want to go fly. Or I want to go paint a picture. I want to go to Alabama, or I want to because some of the things that we want to do are not all that healthy. I want to go visit with Bubba, and my emotions get over my intellect, and I say, well, I'm going to go visit Bubba just because I want to, and I'm a full-grown person. You can't tell me. Okay, Bubba's the guy I used to use drugs with all the time, and I'm about to get high. Right? I'm about to get drunk. Or, just because I want to, I'm going to have a drink. Or just because I want to, I'm going to have whatever it is that I want to have. And so that's why that warning sign is a danger, and we need to know that. I don't ever need to let my emotions get over my intellect, because I'll do what I want to. And sometimes what I want to is not smart. Sometimes what I want to is downright not smart. Right? And so, because some of the things I want to do is going to get me right back to that place where I'm used.
Did you put out 2 sign-in sheets? Sir?
So, excuse me?
Did you put out 2 sign-in sheets?
I haven't touched the sign sheet, but there's an HHSC sheet, and then there is a tap sheet.
Tap's done.
Got it? That's all right. Sorry. So thank y'all. Look, just fill out one HHSC sheet, and then one tap.
Just like we do every day.
Yeah, same thing you do. Same thing you've done 39,000 times. Put your name. Remember to make sure your name is legible. Last time we had some, not the last time, I think the time before that, there was a name on there that was so poorly written, that person never did get credit for the group. And if you're going to sit through this group, you should get credit for the group, right? Yeah, because, if I've got to sit here, it's I don't know about north, but over here it's hot. It's muggy in here.
It's hot.
We're so close to the kitchen that I can smell the food cooking. That's, and I'm hungry already. So, that's bad stuff. So here's some of the things I want us to understand. Real quickly, this is in early recovery. We talked yesterday about exercising, relaxation, eating right, doing the things that we know we're supposed to do, but that the use of drugs and alcohol has stolen from us. Being able to do the things that's normal, natural, and what I should do on a daily basis, our use of drugs and alcohol has stolen that from me. It's just a normal part of what I do. But since I was using drugs and alcohol, then that keeps me from doing the normal things that I'm supposed to do, right? And so now I have to get back into the habit of doing the normal, natural things that human beings have to do to live, like eat right, sleep right, and exercise. If I don't eat right, sleep right, exercise, what's going to happen?
That was nightmare.
You're going to have nightmares. You're going to die. If you don't eat right, sleep. Now, you may not die tomorrow afternoon. I have a fellow in our church that after he had finished a fast, he had fasted for 7 days. 7 days. And, okay, at some point, it's okay to fast. Actually, fasting is pretty good for you. I fasted one time for 40 days. That's a long fast. At the end of it, I was having visions. I had visions of pizza and hamburgers, all of those kinds of things. But I will tell you this, that if you go on a fast like that and you don't stop fasting, at some point you will die.
Yeah.
It's called starvation, right? You're going to starve to death. You are. If you don't sleep, I had a guy come tell me one time, and we did a sleep thing, so for people who were having issues sleeping, and all of those people, they slept. They just didn't realize they slept. I had a guy tell me, he said, man, I hadn't slept a wink in 2 months. I said, you know what that makes you? He said, no, that makes you a liar. Because you cannot go 2 months without sleeping. You have to sleep. If you don't sleep, what happens? You die. You're gonna die. If you don't exercise, what happens? You're gonna die.
Get ugly.
Sooner or later, I'll watch Facebook sometimes when I don't have anything else in the world to do, which is never. My God, that's a waste of time. But I have looked on there, and there's a thing on there called my 500-pound life.
Oh
yeah. Exercise for that person is blinking his eyes. What? But that's gonna kill him. He's gonna die just because he's not doing it. There are some other things that we need to pay attention to. And I know from the way that you guys do in group that you can pay close attention to them. I know that. because you pay such good close attention in here. So I know that you can do that with these other things that you're supposed to do. So one of the things is, look, we need to improve our social skills. And one of the biggest ways we can improve our social skills is to attend recovery groups on a regular basis. You know, when we're using drugs and alcohol, our social skills go out the window. You know, we're just not social people. We use so that we can be social people. That's why I used to use so that I could use. I could, be a social animal. I used my drugs and alcohol as social currency. What that means? When I used it, I could be social.
Yeah.
You know, we would go out and dance and stuff way back in the day. We'd go to the bars and go dancing and all that kind of crazy mess. But before I went, I'd have 2 or 3 drinks, and then I'd have, maybe a beer or 2. So by the time I got there, I was loosened up, ready to go, and all of that kind of stuff. I was social. But when you have to use drugs and alcohol in order to be social, that's not being social, is it? That's being high, being drunk, and if you're high and you're drunk, you can get by.
Yes.
A second ago, I don't know if you made a mistake. You said use, so you can use.
I used so I could use, yeah. So I would use before I went to the bar and all of that stuff, but I got myself going so that when I get there, I could continue that going on. So that's what I was doing. I was using not necessarily so that I could be sociable, but I was using so that I could use. So I could get back over there and use. That's what I wanted to do. So I didn't want to be social with you. I just wanted to be, I wanted to be drunk. So look, we need to do that. One of the ways to do it, one of the ways to get those social skills back, where I can talk to other people, I can be open with other people, I can make friends and be friendly, be somebody's friend, is to go to an AA group or an NA group. And it's really important because there's when you go to an AA group or an NA group, what's there?
People just like us.
People just like you. People that's not going to be looking down on you. People that's not going to be looking up to you. Just people that's going to be looking straight eyeball to eyeball with you. Right?
Yeah. Unless you go to a AA meeting and you're in for NA.
Well, yeah.
Vice versa.
But everybody knows what I'm talking about, right? There's always that outlier. You're going to get in a group that's a closed group. Don't go to that group. Okay, if you go in a group that says, we don't want you here, that doesn't take, an Einstein to say, okay, maybe I'll find myself another group, right? Get out of there and go find another group. You're not going to change that group, and you shouldn't be trying to change that group. Those people are getting sober the way they're getting sober, leave them alone. Get out of there and go to another group. Because there's a group in town that's going to welcome you in. They're looking for somebody just like you. So go find that group, and then find what are you looking for when you're in that group?
Sponsor.
You're going to find yourself a sponsor in that group, and what does that mean?
We'll work the steps.
We're going to start working the steps and all of that stuff, but we'll also have to be social in order to find a sponsor.
Yeah.
In my group, when a person is willing to be a sponsor, I got to a place after a while that I was willing to be a sponsor. Mostly because my sponsor said, you need to start giving it back, Bubba. And what I tell him? My name ain't Bubba. My name ain't Bubba. You don't be talking to me. He said, you either give it back or you're going to lose what you got. So, okay, I've got a lot. I need to give it back. So we have a board, dry erase board just like this. It used to be a different board, but it's the dry erase board now. And those who are willing to be a sponsor put their name, their phone number, and how many years they have in sobriety. How many years they've been sober. How many years they've been working their recovery. And then people go up and read that, people who need a sponsor, and they search that person out. And that's really good because that forces that person in brand new recovery to become a little bit more of a social animal. I have to talk to people. I mean, my picture's not up there. Got a pretty good sized group. My picture's not up there. If a person's been in there for more than 3 or 4 or 5 days, they ought to know who everybody is. We're not that big, but usually they have to come around and talk to 2 or 3 people before they can find that sponsor, and then they have to talk to that sponsor for a while, which means they're being social, and you have to make sure that you and the sponsor are a good fit for one another, right? I want a sponsor that's going to be helpful for me. I don't want one that's going to enable me. There are sponsors out there that will enable you. So I want to make sure that I've got the right sponsor. So that's going to help us do that. All of that happens in an AA group or in an NA group. Where else could you find a social moray like that? Where else could you find a place where you could be social?
Church.
Yeah, go to church. Go to church. I've had people tell me, well, I don't believe in God. Well, that's okay. He believes in you. So go to church. You go to church to meet the people. And if you go there and you meet enough people and you start to become social and all of that stuff, you may wind up meeting God there. And that'll be an interesting thing. So the next thing we need to look at real quickly, normalize common stresses and changing newly recovering people experience. Now listen to that again. Normalize the common stresses and changes newly recovering people experience. What is something new you're going to experience in your early recovery? Something that you really hadn't had to experience before.
Responsibilities.
What is it?
Responsibilities.
Responsibilities? Yeah, I'm going to start trying to meet my responsibilities. What do you have?
I was trying to think.
Okay.
In words, like all the shit in the past that you buried.
Yeah. There's people I have to make amends to. Yeah, there's people I have to go make amends to. Look, I got to get up on Monday morning and do what?
Get ready.
I got to go to work. I have to go to work.
Yeah.
I have to work. I have to get. That's something that's new. Back in my using days, work was way super duper secondary. Yes?
Hey, so, Dr. Grant covered that up in Texas. What if the person you want to make amends to is not around?
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. So what if the person? What if the person that's around? I mean, what if the person that you need to make amends to is not around?
Right. Like, how not around?
What if they're dead?
Right. Show that.
What if they have croaktified? What are you going to do?
Write a letter.
Write a letter. Write a letter. Look, what you can do is write a letter to that person, even if that person has moved to Canada and you don't know where they live in the woods in Canada, and you can't go to them and say, man, I am really, really sorry I did all of that goofy, stupid stuff in your life, and I want to make amends. I just want to tell you, I'll buy you a new truck, whatever it takes to make amends. And if you can't do that, you write a letter, because it's not about the amends, it's about what's in your heart. I'm willing to make amends. I will make, and if that old boy or that old girl moves back into town, you go over to their house and you make a eyeball to eyeball amends. But if you can't do that, I'm going to write them a real heartfelt letter and let them know how sorry I am for what I've done. I'm going to apologize to them in that letter, and then I'm going to do what I need to do with that letter. I can just put that letter up. That letter is not like a letter that you write to your addiction. I wrote probably 100 letters to my addiction, to alcohol. I wrote letters to alcohol. I wrote letters to Mary G. Warner. I wrote letters to all, and those, the counselor said, okay, let's burn them. We burn them. I remember shredding one and burning it. I remember shredding one and burying it in the backyard. They had a big old place out there where you could bury all of that junk. But the point was that you were getting that out of your life. The amends, you're not necessarily getting it out of your life. So, but you need to do it and get it done. So that's what you do with that. And that's the best thing to do. You can't do it any other way. So normalize those common stressors and changes that newly recovering people experience. Now, I have to be a social animal. I have to now be with other people, which is not normal. One of the biggest things I have to do right now is be sober. I have to be sober. And there are going to be temptations. There's going to be triggers. There's going to be warning signs. There's going to be all of that stuff in my life, right? And I'm going to have to learn how to deal with that and stay sober. So that's one of the big things that I'm going to have. That's one of the stressors that's in my life. You don't think that sobriety, you don't think that recovery living is stressful? Now look, I've had people tell me that rehab, facility living is stressful. And it is pretty stressful, right? It can be stressful in here. We sometimes don't like the food they're trying to make us eat. Sometimes don't like my bedmates, don't like the people that's in my room. Right? Of course, we got a whole bunch of nice folks in here. I can't understand that. But, it could happen. And there's all sorts of stressors that's in here. But look, once we get through and we get our certificate of completion and we leave, that stress doesn't leave. We're always going to have stress. So when we get out there, the biggest stressor we're going to have is just staying sober. Because your addiction does not want you to be sober. Your addiction wants you to get right back into a using lifestyle. And I bet most of us know that when we leave here, we're going to go back to that using lifestyle, even if we have decided we're not going to use. We're not going to use. We're never going to use again. We're done. It's a matter of life and death. Either I'm going to stay alive or I'm going to go back and use. It's a matter of life and death. But then we go right back to the same old people who have helped us use so many times in the past. So, we're going to be right back in that stressor. And how long do you think we're going to last in that situation?
Not that long.
I've told y'all the story probably a dozen times, but I only have 3 stories, so I have to retell them. But we had a fellow that was in prison for 20 years. And after 20 years of prison, he got out. He went to see one of his friends, and one of his friends tempted him a little bit, told him, look, let's just have a good cold beer together. That's not your drug of choice. You're stronger than that. You're going to be okay. All of this kind of mess. And he said, absolutely not. I'm in my recovery. I said, okay. So a couple of hours later, he drank that nice cold beer. And then a little bit later on that day, he was snorting cocaine again. So, it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much. We just need to know that that's going to be a big old stressor in our life. And that's going to be a big challenge in our life. And this is going to be one of those things that are changes in our life. Look, here's the thing. All of the things we did while we were using are things we cannot do anymore. So what do we have to change in our life in order to stay in our recovery?
People, places, and things.
Yeah, people, places, and things. Pretty much everything. If you look at people, places, and things, what is that? There's not much left. Anything that is a trigger for you, you can find it under people, places, and things. You're going to be able to find it under. So there's not a whole lot left. So all of the stuff that we used to do, we can't do anymore. So we're going to have to change everything. And so, okay, we change everything. So these are the things that are new to us. It's new to us not going back to the people we love. Right? And I will tell you, not everybody's going to make that because there's a bunch of folks. And I've talked to probably by this time I've talked to thousands of people about not going back to those old people. And just about every one of them have told me to mind my own business. You're not getting paid to do this, so it is my business. You know, so stop going back to those old people. If we go back to the old people, our chances of living in our recovery are slim to none. Now there's that outlier. We always talk about that guy, that outlier. Those people that, you know, they're different from us and everything happens exactly the way that we say it can't happen, and they make it anyway. But that's not me. That's not you. So, we need to stay away from old people, places, and things. And if y'all don't think that that's real, let me tell you this. You need to stay away from old people, places, and things. All right. So we need to assess our current experiences, learn more about feelings, learn more about our thoughts, learn more about events that come up during the recovery process. We need to be looking at who we are, and what we plan to do. Right? Well, we do. I mean, we're going to get out of here before you know it. This is just a little of time. We're going to get out of here, and when we get out of here, nobody's going with us. We get out there on that road, it's going to be our turn. You know, when I got back out on the road, what did I do? Most of the time, I had a crazy car. I had a 1968 Dodge Charger that new. It was beautiful. It was metal flake green. Had the fuel cap was up on top of the back fender. It was just, man, that was beautiful, beautiful car. It had 318 in it. It would not go very fast, but it was a beautiful car. But it was crazy. There was something wrong with it. It knew where every one of the liquor stores in town, and it would pull into them of its own accord. I didn't do. I'm driving home and I'm saying, man, I ain't drinking today. I feel good. Everything's wonderful, wonderful. I feel good. Boom, and the car would be in the park. It'd be in the parking lot of the liquor store, and I'm sitting in there and I'm scared now because I didn't mean to go in that place. You know, I'm scared. I get out of that stupid car. It's like that monster car show, Christine, remember that? So I'm looking at that thing. So in my mind, I'm thinking, you know, that guy in the liquor store, that clerk in the liquor store, he's a pretty smart fella. Won't you go in there and ask him what's going on with his car? Immediately, I walk in that liquor store and I say, hey, Bubba, what do you think's going on with my car? He got a bottle of vodka in his hand. The car, you just need to put this in your car. Don't drink it. Don't even open the top because I know you're in recovery. But just, you know, here, as a matter of fact, it's on sale today. You can get 2 for the price of 1. So, you know, here, take 2 of them, but don't open them. Put one under your seat, and this, you know, just hold the other, but it's for the car. So I go back out and get Christine, start her up. I'm going down the road, you know, and I'm happy. And here's this bottle of booze in the thing. And look, I want y'all to know something. I don't waste. If there's food on my plate, guess what's going to happen to it? I'm going to eat it. What if I don't like it? I'm going to eat it. I grew up, you know, there wasn't any food. Didn't make any difference what it tastes like. I'm going to eat it. Guess what? If there's something there that needs to be consumed, I'm your man. I'm going to consume it. So, couldn't waste it. Opened it up, and then once you open it up, what do? You don't drink it. You just smell it.
No.
Just get it up. Smell it. And, you know, you can almost, by that time, I could get drunk just smelling it. So once I smelled it a couple of times, I said, shoot, I might as well just take a little bit. I could drink half a pint of vodka with one glug. And then, you know, it's always Katie bars the door. You know, now I'm ready for my next I've already done the relapse. Now I'm ready for my next rehab. Right? Yeah. So I got to get to the place where I can do just like we were talking about yesterday. And when it comes there and that desire says you have got to do it, then I'll be able to say, no, I don't. I don't have to. Don't have to. I may want to. I may desire to. I may feel like I can't do anything else, but I can't. I don't have to do that. So we need to figure out why we're thinking the way we're thinking, and that's where we get to our belief system. I'll guarantee you, look, I don't know everybody. I have no idea what you're thinking. Doesn't make me any difference. I don't know what your belief system is because there are people lie about their belief system. You know, you ask somebody, can you drink again? No, I can't drink. I can't ever use any kind of alcohol, or I can't use any kind of drugs again, you know, and that's in my belief system, you know, so the one thing that is in their belief system is it's okay to lie about their belief system. Because how many of us realize that people will tell the counselor things that they know the counselor wants to hear? Right? Because I get somebody in my office and I say, what do you need to avoid? What do you think they say? People, places, and things. I need to not go back to Bubba's house and play pinochle with Bubba on a Friday night. You know, I don't need to be doing any of it. Okay, that's in your belief. That's in my belief. You lie, sack, salt on Salisbury and seaweed eating slime. What's in your belief system is I'm going to lie to this counselor until they let me out this place that I'm going to Bubba's house for a pinochle tournament. Because I know that I'm different from all of those. I'm not like see, this is one of the worst things that we ever get in our belief system. I'm not like the rest of these people.
That's an outlying liar.
Yeah. I'm not. See, we'll tell ourselves, all the rest of those old boys and all the rest of those old girls, those people, when you look at them, you can tell they're alcoholics, they're addicts, not me. I'm not like those people.
Yeah.
The moment I start thinking I'm not like those people, I get out of here and I go back to the same old people, places, things, and suddenly I find out what? I'm just like you. I'm just like everybody else. There's no difference in me. I'm just like everybody else. So, if I'm just like everybody else, then everything that's going to get you is going to get me. And I can tell you what's going to get you. Because what's going to get you is the same thing that gets me. Old people. Old places. Old things. I had somebody tell me once, I am so sick of hearing about old people, places, and things. I said, well, I'll stop telling you about them when you stop going around old people, places, and things. You got to get that into your psyche. And when you get out there and here comes your Bubba, here comes your best friend, he comes running up there to get you, and your brother's in the car, and you look at those two and you say, man, already when they roll down the window, the smoke comes out. So, okay, this ain't the place I need to be. I had a guy tell me one time he tested for positive for marijuana, and he said, but I don't smoke marijuana. Y'all's test is wrong again. Because I don't smoke it. I ain't never smoked it. I will never smoke it. Because I don't believe in it. I think it's a weed from the devil. I ain't never going to. Okay, how come you tested? He said, I don't know. I said, I know. The only way to test positive for it is to smoke it, choke it, do something with it. You got to put it in your body. He said, no, never did. I said, okay. So he went out, his brother and cousin came to pick him up. And these guys, they gone. They laid back, they in the car. I said, you gonna ride with those guys? He said, yeah. He said, now I'm not smoking. But they're smoking so much it's like he's been a fog inside the car. Do you think he's getting high off of that? Well, absolutely. Secondhand smoke, and he's sitting in there going, I don't smoke this stuff. So anyway, we got to stay away from these places. That's what we need to understand. One other little bitty thing. We need to identify for ourselves the benefits of continuing recovery. What are the benefits for continuing recovery?
Sobriety, long-term.
Yeah.
Long-term sobriety.
Yeah. Long-term sobriety, long-term being able to provide for your family, long-term being able to provide, long-term anything.
Yeah.
Long-term life.
Stability.
Look, here's the deal. If I'm going to live, and if I'm going to have any of those one thing, if you can think of one thing in your life that you really, really want, if you're going to get that, you are going to have to stay sober to do it. Right? You think there's any businessmen out there that have martinis? Yeah, yeah. You think there's any businessmen out there that have a bottle in their drawer? Yeah, yeah. You think there's anybody out there that's really highly successful that has a beer on the weekends? Yeah, yeah. But they're not us. They're not us. They're different. They're normies, right? They're not addicts. They're normies. Normies can do that. And, they can do that. They can have this. They can have that. But for long-term sobriety, long-term recovery, all the benefits are everything you ever wanted to have in your life. You want to have a home? How many people want to have a nice house? How many people want to have a nice car? How many people want to have, a nice relationship with that is a positive, good relationship, not just 15 minutes. It's a 30-year, 40-year relationship. We want to have that. How many people want to have some nice children? Well, I got some you can have. They're pretty nice. Everybody wants, we want to have good kids. We want to have nice places. We want to have nice lives. We want to have good. How many people just want to have a good vacation every now and then? I do. All that depends on me being in my recovery. All that depends on me making a decision that whatever threatens my recovery, I'm not going to be fooling with that anymore. I'm not going to do that anymore. Now, let me ask you this. There's a few of us in here. How many do you think are going to stick to that and not go back to old people places?
All of us.
All of us? How many do you think?
I was just raising my hand.
Okay. All right. You have something? Two people?
You're not going to be one of them? I am.
And that's an unknowable. We don't know. But I can tell you that I've been doing this a long time. And most people are not only going back to old people, places, and things, the old people, places, and things are going to pick them up when they get out of here. It's the only ride we've got. It's the only place we can go. It's the only thing we can do. So what we have to do is figure out how to get out of that situation. If your old drinking buddy is the one that's going to give you a ride home, is that a good plan? No. Y'all ever heard of Hollywood Henderson? Hollywood Henderson, man. Yeah, he was a Dallas Cowboy. I have the movie. We'll show it one day. He was a cocaine freak to the big man. And when he went to treatment, he got out of treatment, and he didn't think that marijuana was a real problem. When he got out of treatment, his friend came and brought him three things. He brought him his Mercedes. He brought him a fur coat. The dude wore a fur coat. And then he brought him some 6 rolled up joints already ready. So when he stepped into his Mercedes, 3 seconds after he got out of treatment, 3 seconds, he was back on cocaine within a few days. Yes, sir, you had something? You had something? Did you forget it?
No, I don't know.
Spit it out.
So, really the way I think about it, it's like people that I used to hang around with. Now I'm gonna think about it, and where were they in my incarceration? Being in treatment. You know what I'm saying? Like I had a bunch of homeboys out there when I was in my addiction and I had money and stuff. Friends. Man, not one of the people pulled up in the parking lot. I'm like, hey God, here's a case of sodas and chips and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So
That's
So
a,
I'm just like, man, where are we using? I need
that's a real good point. And what was said is that, you know, when we're in a bad situation, when we're in prison or when we're in a place like this or wherever we are, those people who are supposed to be our friends don't show up and support. Now, why do you think that is?
because they ain't been through.
Yeah, and here's the deal. They're not your friends.
Yeah.
They are your addiction's friend. Get a hold of that. These people that we're going back to are not our friend. They're our addiction's friend. They want you back where you were. And you say, well, that's my mother. You know, now y'all don't get offended, but you know, I've had bunches of people tell me that, look, that's my mama. You can't tell me not to go around, hang around my mama. Yes, I can. If your mother is using drugs, you don't need to be around that lady. You don't need to be around her. Certainly, she carried you in her womb for 9 months, and then she did all of the work to get you into the world, and she grew you up a little bit, but here at this point in time, you're full grown. You know how to go to the bathroom by yourself, so do that. You know, go potty by yourself, feed yourself, do those things, and stay away from the people who are using drugs. Because even if they're your mom and they're high, they want you to get back to where you were. Because they don't know you, like you, care for you, love you, anything else so.
What if it's your significant other?
Well, that's different, right? That's different, man. If it's your significant other, you need to just sail your life right down the tube, you know, flush all of your future down the toilet, do all that stuff, and go back out there and start using with that person again because they're your significant other.
Same thing.
No, you don't. It's the same thing. You need, look, if you have somebody that's in your life that you know you're tied up with, you love that person, and y'all going to stay together the rest of your life, that's a fantastic thing. But you need to tell that person, look, here's what we're going to do. If we stay together, it's going to be together sober. And that's a hard thing because if that person's out there using now, the chances of that person getting sober is way down the line. Yes.
Crazy because I was that significant other on the outside.
Yeah.
Getting better. Every time she came out, I was the one to back. Well, not knowing, not meaning to. See.
Well, that's a really good point. And that's exactly what's going to happen when you go back to those same folks. Because they really don't look. Lots of these folks will tell you, I know you're in your recovery and I want to help you stay in your recovery. So I'm not going to use around you. I'm not going to do any of that kind of stuff. But if they're still using, all of that's out the window. Now, when they're sober, they'll tell you that. They drink one beer, they have one joint, they take one line, whatever they're doing, all of that's out. Once they get high, they say goodbye. They want you using with them. And you know, I've heard people, hey, if you love me, you will support me in my youth. You want me to support you in your sobriety? Well, you need to support me in my addiction. What?
I never heard that.
Yeah. But that's what, if there's people, and they may not say that verbally, but just like you said, they'll get angry with you because you say, hey, you can't use around me. They'll get angry with you when you say you shouldn't be using around our children. They'll get angry with you when you say, you just spent the whole stinking paycheck on cocaine in 5 minutes. They'll get angry about it. Because, look, you don't understand, this is something I have to do. I can't not do this. I have to. If I don't do this, I'll die. That's what their limbic system is telling them. And here you come, right out of a facility, right out of rehab, and you get over there and tell them, hey, I want you to stop using. So in their mind, you're telling them, I want you to go ahead and commit suicide. Okay. And what they're actually doing is committing slow suicide, and they want you to join with them. And you know that. Everybody here knows. Now, there's not a bird. Look, you guys are all brilliant. All of y'all except for the ones who are sleeping. The rest of y'all are brilliant. Ones who are sleeping, I don't know. But everybody in this group and everybody at North knows there's not a person here that's ignorant to the fact that if you continue using, you're going to die. If I hadn't stopped using, I would be dead by now. Either the drugs would have gotten my liver or something, or when I used to drink, I would grow to 6'2". I'd weigh about 100, well, probably 225 pounds, and nothing but rock hard muscles. My hair was wavy, and first I'd whoop him. You did. You would. Biggest guy, I'm on, and y'all, I still have all my teeth. I bought them from the dentist because there were people who took them. Knock them all out. This is a scar right here, not a wrinkle. I got a lot of wrinkles, but this is a scar. Got knocked off of a British armored vehicle and knocked down on the floor, and just got beat up all over. And so here's the deal. When I knew that this is going to kill me, if I hadn't died from the use of the drug itself, somebody was going to kill me. Somebody was going to, some old boy was going to beat me to death because I would go in the bar and pick a fight. I had that little man syndrome. And and so that's not good. So we need to know, we need to identify the benefits of continuing recovery. Here's one of the benefits for me of continuing recovery. I just get to live. I get to live. If I'm not in my recovery, I'm dead. If I'm not in, I've been married for 52 years. In March, it'll be 53. I get to stay married to a young lady that I fell in love with 52 years ago. And so, 54 years ago, we got married and all of this kind of stuff. I get to stay married. I get to keep my job. I like doing this. Not so much, you guys, y'all don't pay attention. I don't like any of you. But I like doing this for other people. And I'm okay with you guys as well. And I'm a pastor I am the pastor, I'm the senior pastor of the largest church on our block. It's true. Largest church on our block. I wouldn't be able to do that if I was not in my recovery.
So do y'all ever come take us?
We don't. We don't want you people in our church. That's not true. We would be more than honored. It says right on our bulletin that we would be more than honored. And our church is a church for broken people. And we're about to get a new nickname. We're not changing the church. It's Bethel Baptist Church, but it's going to be Bethel Baptist Church, the church of the raging waters. You talk about water, that's the Holy Spirit. It's representative of the Holy. So we're going to be the church of the raging waters. So the Holy Spirit's going to be able to rage through our church if He so desires. But I couldn't do that if I was, still in my addiction. So sometimes we don't have a lot of people. Last week, a lot of people stayed out, sloughed off, and all of that stuff. But it's still an honor to do that. And the reason we don't, you have to get approved to do it. You have to have a band, which we don't have. You have to be prepared to do all of those kinds of things. And we would love to do that, but we just don't have a way at this point. It's in Orange. So it's about 30 miles from here or farther. So it's pretty far. But when y'all look, when you yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a church right up here. You know, but so here's what we're looking for. And down here on the bottom, it has the assignment number 8. And I know most of you have already gone through this, but look at that, especially if you haven't. You have a book. You just got here. You'll get one. Miss Caitlin is making books, and she'll get you one. But here's some of the things we have going on. We only have a few minutes, but I want us to look at this. Feeling physical changes in my body. You know, when you stop using the drug that's destroying you, guess what happens? You start feeling differently. You're physically feeling differently because now we can intake food and our body can use the food to keep us alive. Also, your emotions begin to wake up. Your emotions begin to come back alive. You know, when we were drinking, when we were using drugs, and we had this emotion of anger, we had an emotion of fear, somebody hurt our feelings, whatever it was, what did we do? We pushed that down, whatever our drug was. That was our major coping skill. Now those things are coming back. I'm starting to feel anger. I'm starting to feel my feelings hurt. I'm starting to feel fear. I'm starting to feel rejection. I'm starting to feel all that crap that I used to not have to feel. So now I have to feel them. And if I have to feel them, what do? I have to deal with them. If I'm going to feel them, I got to deal with them. So sometimes that's not the easiest thing in the world to do. Right? So those are coming back. We also have some feelings of hope and exhilaration that comes back to it. You know, I don't know about you, but when I was living under a house and wondering where I was going to get my next bottle of vodka, I was hopeless. I didn't see any hope. I didn't lay under that house in the middle of the night when it was freezing, wrapped up in the only jacket I had, dreaming of my future. Didn't do that. I was hopeless. There wasn't anything there that was going to cause me to have any kind of hope. I didn't have any hope until I was away from it. Now get it? I was hopeless. Now get this. I was hopeless until I was dope. When I got the dope out of my life, the hope returned. At some point, I was sober for a little while, and somebody offered me a job. Same person had offered me a job several times before that, and I'd always turned him down. And the reason I turned him down was because I knew I couldn't do it. And every time I turned him down, I told him, well, you know, I just can't do that. And he told me, yes, you can. Yes, you can. Sure, you can. It's not that big a deal. Sure, you can. But I always turned him down. And then after I'd been sober for about 3 months, he said, hey, I still got a job for you. I said, okay. And what changed? I went from dope to hope.
The hope, you want dope.
Yeah. Yeah. Pick up the hope, put down the dope, and I went on and went to work for that fella, and guess what happened? I wound up being able to do it. Now it wasn't that big a deal. I was a welder's helper. That's a horrible, terrible, nasty job. A welder's. I was holding the stuff, and he was welding. He'd say, watch it. He'd weld a while, and then I hold it some more, and he'd say, watch it. And he'd weld a while, and then finally he said, watch it. And I said, boss, I can't watch it no more. My eyes about burned out. Put a mask on. See what drugs will do to you? He don't even know that's a joke. He said, burnt my eyes. I did. We were working on a dam. They were pulling back. They had me go over and hold on to the rope that was up on these creosote poles. Y'all know what a creosote pole is? And I pulled, the machine would pull back that creosote pole, and I was supposed to pull it over a little bit like that if I could. that creosote get all over you. That's worse than the welding. Swole my eyes shut. It's terrible. So, some of the things, feelings of letdown and fear, special. Oh, go ahead,
Well, my boy put down the goats, and I got hope.
Yeah, he does now. He got some hope. Yeah, that's a good thing.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about you. See, he's still in that. He's still in that place. What y'all? We pointing at him. They go, what y'all talking about? We love you, man. We do. We do.
Sarcasm.
No, we really do.
Slide them
So
off.
we're going to have some feelings of letdown and fear. Why are we going to have feelings of letdown? We're sober. We're feeling better. Our bodies are starting to tell us, hey, I feel a little bit better now. And our minds are getting a little bit more clear. Why do I feel let down?
What do we do?
I don't have any more dough. I've let my greatest coping skill go. I've let the God that I have bowed down to for however many years go. So, it makes me feel let down. Makes me feel terrible. All right, we're going to look. And also, once that let down hits there, we have this huge fear. Why? Yeah, because here's the deal. I do have some hope now. I'm off the drug, but I'm also off the drug. I'm afraid to live without my greatest companion, without my lover, without my God, without my friend, without my coping skills. This is something I used to go to every time I needed somebody or something to go to, and now I can't go to them. It's bad. You know what we need to do right at this point in time? We need to suck sulfur into so that, the cancer that we have started building up in there, we can keep that growing. So we're going to take a 15-minute break, and we'll be back right after that.
Yes. Right after these messages.
Thank you.
It's a difference. Oh, he's not bad. That's what it is. It's not the HHS. Okay. One six out on
You know, you all right?
Yeah. What's the difference? Extended stays. No, you think a lot. I think it's half. I invested in it's 9 years. Yes, why I sorry.
It comes right to
I got it.
Yellow.
Hey, here you go, brother.
I'm great.
Hey,
What?
Say what? Feel good. Oh. You. I don't know. Oh, good. Stop drinking. So,
Hey, what if we had a stipulation on you have to make the sugar in the cookie out here? Actually make it cookie? How hard is
They were probably
it? Some people just want it. People want to trying to gain the tool.
for bucks.
Who we working on all day?
happening.
Got about 1 minute.
I'm sorry, my friend.
Oh, the brother 20.
All right, it's time to get started. We're going to look at our sign-in sheets. Make sure that you have them done. If you're at North Point, put them in my box, please. Someone over there. I know there's lots of folks there willing to help, so do that. My plan for today was to go over the dysfunctional family roles, and we may get to that. But I want us to finish up this on page 57 in our books, and so we're gonna go on over this. It's on 57 and 58. If we finish that quickly enough, we'll go on into the roles. But I kind of feel like I might want to hold the roles over until tomorrow because it's really, really important. And I probably should have started with that because this is also Family Week. You know, we're talking about early recovery, and we're also talking about Family Week. Yeah, you're Bob. Yeah. I'm over here going, oh yeah. And I noticed he's getting nervous. But look, we just talked about exercising is what you guys do out there. Is that good for you? Absolutely. How do you? What's the one way that you can tell that you were meant to exercise?
Sure.
You feel better, all of that kind of stuff, but your muscles grow. If your muscles didn't grow, then it wouldn't make much difference. But when you exercise a muscle to the point of tearing it, it's going to grow. It's going to grow. So you know that God created you. You're fearfully and wonderfully made, and that's part of it. When you exercise that muscle, it'll work. And I read a thing not too long ago that as you grow older, lifting weights is a really good thing for you to do. When I go to the gym, I go to an old people's gym. There's people in there that's 200-300 years old. They're still working out.
You look like
Yeah, they don't look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but they don't look dead either. So I talked to a guy the other day. He was about 80 years old, and I said, "Man, why do we keep doing this kind of stuff?" He said, "So we stay alive." That's okay. That's what it is. Staying alive. So we're in early recovery. We've gotten ourselves through a magnificent, wonderful treatment facility like this one. And we're back into life where we have to deal with her. People, places, and things, but even more important than that, who do we deal with? Who's the first person? Us. We have to deal with us. And I tell you, sometimes our ego gets up there. Sometimes, I'm full grown and you can't tell me what to do. Is that true? Absolutely. I can't tell you what to do, but I can tell you what you ought to do, and I can tell you what you need to do, and I'll tell you what would be the best thing for you to do, but it's maybe what you should do. We don't really use shoulds a lot, but what you should do, but perhaps. But it's always going to be You. Because who's going home with you? You. You're going home with you. You're the one's going to have to look out for you. You're the one home. It's not your sponsor's job to look out for you.
Me, myself, and I.
You, yourself, and yeah. Now have God to help you. God's going to help you, and He'll help you. So we already talked about spirituality last week. But here's some of the other things we talked about. That I'm dealing with a lot of fear in early recovery because I don't have the coping skills I used to have. Let me tell you something. In my drug days, in my alcohol days, I cope with anything. Anything. Make any difference. You have to speak in front of 3,000 people. All right, then. You have to do this. Okay. Doesn't make any difference. I can do anything as long as I've got some kind of alcohol or drug inside of me. I don't have that anymore. I don't have that coping skill anymore. So what have I had to do? Yeah, build a new coping skill. Come up with new coping skill. I have to figure out what's a good coping skill.
Exercise.
What is it?
Exercise.
Exercise is a great coping skill. Look, exercise will do more for you than you ever imagined. Get out there and exercise. It's going to give you a little rush. It's going to give you a little high. It's also going to get you healthier. You're going to feel better about who you are. I didn't get to go to the gym this morning. Somebody talked me out of it. Who do you think talked me out of it? Me. No, I talked myself out of it. I got up this morning at 4 o'clock in the morning and I said, I hate feeling it today. So I sat down and just didn't do anything. But tomorrow morning, I'm going, I have to go 3 times a week. So tomorrow morning, I'm going. Have to go. But, that's one of those coping skills. One of my major coping skills is prayer. I do believe, with the whole believer, I believe as deeply as I can believe that God exists and that He exists to love me. That's an amazing statement. I believe that with all my heart and soul. God, the Lord Jesus Christ is God. I believe that with everything that I can believe. And that's a great coping skill because prayer is simply talking to Him. That's a great coping skill. Now for me, because when that need comes again, I can force it out by the use of talking to my God. And that works great things for me. So it helped me get some of that fear out of there. One of the other things that we're going to notice in early recovery is frustration. What's the difference between anger and frustration? Frustration can lead to anger, but frustration is not anger. I can get frustrated over a whole bunch of stuff. So in early recovery, why am I getting frustrated? No dope. I'm having to deal with things that I didn't used to have to deal with, and it's frustrating. And I don't, I'm not being able to go and do the things that I want to do, and that's frustrating. It's frustrating sometimes that, I want to go over here and do this, and I can't do it. My wife has some little issues, and I wanted to go to Kerrville. We took 4 days off, and she decided she couldn't do that. So wound up going to Galveston on a Saturday in the summertime. If it's Saturday in the summertime and somebody says, let's go to Galveston, don't do that. Don't do that. We went down through the beach and all of that stuff, and it was fun. We got down there waiting on the ferry. We waited like 2.5 hours. I thought those things had collided and sunk out in the middle of the bay or something, because it was terrible. But, that was frustrating. So frustration's going to be there. How do you handle frustration?
Still with.
Have you, say it again?
Still with.
Stay away from people. People will frustrate you. How many folks know that getting that first good job after you have gotten out of recovery, gotten out of the facility, can be a bit frustrating? I couldn't get the jobs I wanted. No, not for a while. So I had to take the jobs that were offered. So, you got to do what you got to do sometimes. But it can be frustrating, especially if you go get your paycheck and they give it to you in coins. Yeah. We owe you 19 cents. Crazy. Frustrating. But one of the things that can be good for us in early recovery is we're starting to feel more connected to other people. And we can be connected to other people, but we're not being connected to the people that we were connected to in the past. What connected us to those people in the past? Our drugs. Yeah, whatever that might be. We were connected to those people by the drugs that we were using. This is why those folks, when they'll tell you, I love you, I can't get enough of you, I'm never going to use in front. Is it a good thing that your friends and family won't use in front of you? Is that a good thing?
Yes and no.
Yes and no? Well, it shows one thing that they're trying, but the other thing is that those people, just like you said, it's not the people using that's a trigger for you. It's the people themselves. It's them. They're the trigger. If you never, ever, ever see them light up again, if you never, ever, ever see them pop a top again, if you never, ever see them run a line again, they're still going to be a trigger. Because that's what you used to do with them. We have to jettison the old people. What does the word jettison mean? Get rid of them. Lose them. Let them go. Tell them bye. Don't fool with them anymore. Get them out your life. Go on. Kick them to the what? Curb. At least. Why would you kick them to the curb? Because you can't kick them any further. Kick them, get them out your life, get them out your life. So, we are going to be getting connected to other people, though. And what's going to connect us to those other people? What should be connecting us to other people? Sobriety. They're sober. I don't want to hang out with them. There are people out there, look. There are people out there that can use. There's people out there that can drink beer and drink whiskey and do all that kind of stuff and it not get them. Am I going to hang out with those people? Not me. You may be able to do that. There's always an outlier. I'm going to hang out with Bubba now. He don't have a problem. He's not an alcoholic or anything like that. He does still drink beer on the weekends, and he still does have some alcohol in his truck all the time. But he's not an alcoholic, so I'm going to hang out with him. Well, I am, so I'm not. I'm not going to, because every time he turns up a cold one, I'm going to want 9 of them. Every time I see him pop the top, I'm going to wrestle it out his hand. And, every time that's going to be a trigger for me. I'm not fooling with that person. I'm going to hang out with sober people who are sober on purpose. I'm sober on purpose. I'm sober because I want to be. I'm also sober because I have to be. If I'm not sober, then I'm not alive anymore. So I want to be living. I want to be connected to people, but I want to be connected to the right people. If you have people in your life that are using, how do you get rid of those folks? You can't.
Say it to the
Say it again.
Especially when a brother lets you know your boy or your spouse.
They said there's some people in your life you really just can't get rid of. Is that true?
Yeah.
In some people's lives, it's going to feel so true that they're not gonna be able to get rid of. Not really true. Not really true. You know, it's not really true. If I know, look, if I know that my brother, I have two brothers, if I know that my brothers are going to threaten my sobriety, I'm God. I can live without those old boys, and have. And I have one brother lives in Alabama, one brother lives in Mississippi, and I live quite happily with that.
Yeah, if they're already someplace else, it's easier, but if you live in the backyard, you know what I'm saying? Camper, and their house is over here.
Yeah,
I can set boundaries, and they can respect them. So, that's
Call me an outlaw.
real.
I'll never be booked on my. No, I'm so. Even though he may not want it, I ain't.
No. I mean, and I do understand that. And this is one of those hard places that we have to get to. I do understand, like Sergio said, that's my brother. And I'm not giving up on my brother. My goodness, what? You idiot. I'm not giving up. You can't tell me I'm not giving up on my brother. And everybody's saying, Sergio, right. Because I love my brother and I live with my brother and okay. And that's okay. And like Sergio said, he may be that I'm sure, look, hey, what? Billions of people on the face of the earth. There's someone who can go back to old people, places, and things and be okay. There has to be. The odds of you being that person are slim to none. Slim to none. I haven't given up on my brother. My little brother he's in his recovery now, was a stone cold alcoholic. My older brother he's retired now, he was an FBI agent. Ooh. He spent most of his time in college, looking for kids in college that were selling dope. Oh. I mean, what a terrible what a terrible job. So I haven't given up on either one of those guys. I don't live with them. I don't associate with them. I don't go by around those people because I know that would threaten my recovery. What I do is I pray for them, help them when I can, stuff like that. But here's the deal. Let me share this with you. What we need to do is take that old people, places, and things deal and put it in the back of our mind, hold it back here, and when we get out of treatment, we go back to old people, places, and things, and if we come back to treatment, we take a look at what the heck happened. Maybe it was my brother. Maybe it was my cousin. Maybe it was my mama. Maybe it was old people, places, and things. And then, if we go back through treatment, and then we go back to old people, places, and then we come back to treatment, at some point, we have to make up our minds whether this is my life, in and out of treatment, backing back to my old people, places, and things, loving on the folks who are going to get me back into my addiction, or living my life by myself, or living my life with other people, getting away from those folks. Sometimes we need to give up people for our own life. Definitely.
So I can understand what you're saying about people, places, things like I got some really not really close friends. I got some people out there that I know that are going to be around and out. I've set like a healthy boundary with them. While I've been in here, I've talked to them on the phone and I've let them know that I'm not going to be high or stuff like that. But also at the same time, I can't go to a med house and hang out at the med house and not be purpose.
Well, this is true. He said, and look, those are good points, and we kind of got away from what we were talking about, but that's a really good point, and we need to explore that just a little bit. So all of these people out there, I'm going to have to be around some of these people, But instead of just letting them be, I'm going to set some healthy boundaries with those. Should we set healthy boundaries?
Yeah.
Good. We should set healthy boundaries with the new people that come into our life. The boundary that we should set with the old people that we were using drugs with, and I've said this 8,000 times, nobody listens. Nobody's ever heard it because we block it out. It's not them using, it's them. They are the trigger. If they never, ever, ever, you set a boundary, don't you ever use her, and they never, ever, ever use around you again, it does not matter. They are the trigger. When you see that person, actually, it has been proven, if you call them on the phone and you hear their voice, that's a trigger. That can trigger you. That can trigger you. Now look, we talk about this all the time too. You may be an outlier. You may be that person that's not truthful. But I will tell you this, I've not met that person yet. And if you're it, great. I met that person, but I've never met a person that wasn't truthful. It's true for all of us.
You haven't met a person?
I have not. I didn't say it didn't exist. I don't know. It could. Yeah, there's probably thousands of them, but I haven't met anybody that could go back to old people, places, and things, even if they set healthy boundaries and not. Sooner or later, that boundary is going to get crossed. Sooner or later, that boundary is porous. Sooner or later, that boundary is not set up to do what. If you would have to set up a boundary that would not allow that person ever back in your life, and that's the only boundary that would work. You had something first. Go ahead.
No, I was just
okay.
Yeah, I also agree with you because it's like you're saying you set the healthy boundary or whatever, but like the people I hang out with, I know when they're tweaking. You know what I'm saying? I know when they're getting high, and so I mean, that might set that trigger off. Even though I set a healthy boundary, I'm still seeing these people, and I know when they're tweaking. So I mean, that could be a trigger for me.
Well, yeah, and see, and still, I'm going to share this one more time. But before we do that, go ahead. What's that?
Okay, so outliers, is that just like fictional characters somebody made up just to make it sound better?
No, it's actual fact. It's actual fact. Who's proven it?
Yeah.
Millions of doctors in the AMA have proven that there's such a thing as an outlier. Every student, probably 38 billion students who have gone through any kind of psychology training, know any 10th grade, any 8th grade high school student knows what an outlier is.
They know what it is, but where's an actual outlier to show us that one not physically?
What is an outlier?
Explain it.
Yes, please. I know.
All right. So, see, this is what comes from talking in class, and this is what comes from sleeping in class. What is it? The 34th time, an outlier is someone that goes against the grain. Someone who does something that for everybody else is impossible. If you get shot in the head with a 45, does it kill you? If you shoot yourself right here with a 45, will that kill you?
There's one outlier that hasn't.
I know one guy that got shot himself right here because his girlfriend left him. He shot himself right here. He wears his cowboy hat way down here because he's really ugly, but he survived. He's an outlier. He is the exception to the rule. And if you have to guarantee, I'm going to use drugs because you can't prove to me that there are exceptions to the rule.
Pay attention.
You can't. You have to prove to me that there's an outlier. You have to prove to it. I ain't prove anything to you. I'm going to tell you that there are outliers. There are people that can do stuff that some other people can't do. There are exceptions to the rule. Here's the bad part of that. You're not it. You're not the exception to the rule. You're going to fail. Now that is a statement that may not be true, right? Because you may be that outlier, right?
It's your opinion.
Yes.
lot of people got shot, some died,
Yeah, most of them died.
they went.
Okay, but then you're an outlaw. Right, there you go.
Right here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I knew that because he was walking past me the other day and he shook his head.
Hey, thank you, Lord.
That's a good example, you know. There you go. You've never seen an outlier. There sits
And there
one.
you go.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we wasted a lot of time on that.
That was the
Yeah,
way.
it was not waste of time.
No, one of the other things that we're going to experience when we get into early recovery, we get out of here is loneliness. See, and that's what we're talking about. I want to get back. This is one of the reasons we want to get back to those old people, places, and things because we know those people. We know where they're coming from. We know what's going on. And it's just like our friend back here, he's setting up how he can go back to those old people. I'm going to go back to them. I'm going back to my old people. You can't tell me not to go back to my old people, but I'm going to set up a healthy boundary. What's a healthy boundary for an addict?
Away from everything.
There's no such thing for an addict. Is an addict going to set up a healthy boundary? Is an addict going to respect your healthy boundary? Absolutely not. Well,
Well, I mean,
okay.
he's going to offer you the loan.
Okay. Does that sound like some addict thinking?
Yeah.
If they don't do it like I want them to, I'm gonna punch them in the face. Definitely addict stuff. Is this addiction going to kill me?
Yeah.
You start punching me in the face, it's going to. Yeah, you ain't punching people in the face. No, I mean, come on, that's addict thinking. Building a healthy boundary is me trying to figure out how to go back to my old people. I don't want to give them up because I don't want to give up my growth. Listen, I don't want to give up my old people. I don't want to give up my old place. I don't care how many thousands of counselors tell me I have to give up old people, places, and things. I don't care. And that's the last time I'm going to tell you about old people, places, and things. You beat your head against a wall long enough, it starts to hurt. So either accept that old people, places, and things, or set you up some really good boundaries. Go back out there to your old people, places, and things. How many? We're all adults. And here's the thing. We all know that. There's not a person in this group that doesn't know that if you go back to the old people, places, and things, whether we love them, all of that, it's going to take our sobriety. It may not take our recovery in the first week, but it will take it. Yes, sir.
I guarantee you one thing, though.
Here we go. Guarantees now.
That's not going to be the last time you do it.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, no.
I see it.
Before you leave.
No, I'm not going to do it anymore. No more. Not telling you about people, places. Not going to tell you about old people, places. If you ain't got it by now, you ain't going to get it. Because I tell you about old people, places, and things, and then you explain to me how you're going to get around what I just told you. I got other stuff. So you're going to feel some loneliness. You're going to find some. You're going to be. We're going to be lonely out there because we were with those people that were in our lives, and now we're trying to get to where we're not with those people, and we don't have any new people. We should be in AA, NA, all of those things right now. And while we're in there, we should be building different relationships. Those people are users, but look, they're trying to get sober. And they're trying to get into recovery. So that's where we should be trying to get some new people. Going to church, maybe. Are all the people at church good?
Nope.
No, there's some bad people at church. But the deal is we need to be getting other people in our life if we want to stay sober. We're going to have a feeling of feeling strange. Y'all remember the Doors song? No, anybody remember the Doors?
Rap, rock, roll, jump,
People are strange. People come out, faces come out of the rain. When you're strange, so people are strange. So when you get out of here, you're going to feel like what? Strange, a little different. It's not who I am. This is a hard thing for us. Yeah.
That's just strange.
Right. So when I get out of here, look, I'm going to get back into the world. I'm going to be different from everybody else. I'm not the same as everybody else. So I feel a little bit strange. The way that I feel connected, the way that I feel good, the way that I feel right, the way that I feel normal is what? Using my drug. Using my drug. So here's the deal. When you get back out there, your addiction is going to do everything it can to get you back to where you feel normal. And see, for us, we're addicts, right? So if you're an addict, what's a normal state for me? High. Being drunk, being high. That's a normal state for me. So if that's a normal state for me, then being sober, being lucid is abnormal. So the world out there is asking me to do something that's totally abnormal. The world wants me to be sober.
So right now when we feel it ain't normal.
No, not for us. This feeling of being sober and being cognizant of where we are and being lucid, being able to communicate and all of that kind of stuff is not a normal state for us. But it's the state we need to stay in if we're going to have the things we want to have in life. And here's what we need to do. We need to decide what's important. What's the most important thing to us?
Right.
Well, my sobriety is highly important to me, not the most.
Your higher power.
My higher power, Lord Jesus, is the most important thing to me. My wife is probably a close second. And then, my recovery. My recovery is right there. And, so if my recovery is that important to me, guess what I'm going to do?
First priority.
Whatever it takes to make sure my recovery is in place. And if you are someone who's going to threaten my recovery, you're not in my life anymore. It's not hard. You're not in my life because you're a threat. No. Like my brother back here, if I get to be a threat to him, he's gonna punch me in the face. So that makes him a threat to me. So I'm not going to invite him to my party. he ain't coming over my house. That's
Okay, so say for instance, going back to something that threatens your sobriety,
right.
But that other person versus other also clean and in recovery, but the relationship is toxic, driving to relapse or how does that work?
I don't know. I don't have anything else to say about other places.
No, I know that, but that's right.
No, the deal about it is we all know if we're in a toxic relationship. And if you'll listen to the terminology for 3 seconds that you said yourself, what do you think? I'm in a toxic relationship. What should I do? You need to sing Somewhere Over the Rainbow 4 times a day, and that'll cure you. The point that I'm making by saying something like that is to show you already know what you need to do in a toxic relationship. And you know what to do. So if I'm in a toxic relationship, then I know that the relationship is what? What does toxic mean? I'm going to die from it, so I'm going to get out of it. So I'm feeling strange, or I'm feeling out of place. This is not normal for me. Normal for me is getting high, hanging out with my buddies, doing all those kind of crazy mess. You know, that's what's normal. So now I'm not normal. I'm trying to go to AA all the time. I'm trying to go to church all the time. I'm trying to do what I need to do to be a good husband, a good father, a good employee. Even my job can depend on me to be there. You know, not call in 9 times a week because I'm sick. I got the Monday morning blues, the Monday morning flu. You know, this is not a place for. Here's the good news. After a while, it gets to be our normality. After a while, this is what we're supposed to be. After a while, recovery feels good. So we're working for something more than sobriety, aren't we? Sobriety means I'm sober. Every drunk out there, every addict out there can get sober for 20 minutes. Get sober for 3 or 4 days. Get sober for 6 months. Every drunk out there can do that. I don't want to do that. I want to be in my recovery. And your recovery requires a lifestyle change. It's not just getting sober. You know, we are addicted to drugs, alcohol, whatever. People, places, things, stuff. We're addicted to excitement. We're addicted to chaos. But we're not going to get any excitement or chaos if we don't have that toxic relationship we go back to. We're not going to have a whole bunch of chaos, and we're not going to have a whole bunch of that excitement if we can't have an argument with our spouse the moment we get out of here. We're not going to have that. So we have to learn how to live at peace with who?
All the above.
All the above. We need to learn how to live at peace with myself first, then with my whoever, my spouse, whoever else. I need to learn how to be at peace with also. So the other thing that's going to happen when we get out of here, what's the first thing we have when we get out of treatment? What? One of the things that we have that's really frightening is freedom. Freedom. When I get out of here, I'm free to do whatever I want to do. I'm free to go right down to a little store, get me some little something. Go to the liquor store. I'm free to do anything. Yeah. I go stand on the corner. If you go down here and stand on the corner for about 10 minutes, somebody's going to come by and have a little something you need. So we're going to have that freedom, but we're also going to have cravings. We're going to have urges to use, just like we did here. We talked about yesterday. We're going to have thoughts. Our thought, I can remember when. And we're going to have dreams sometimes. Dreams of using dreams. Y'all ever had using dreams?
I had those before I came in. Wow, first week here.
And they can remain with you for months and months. We're out there, we're waking up in the morning feeling like we've already used and all of that kind of stuff. We have cravings, and I've been in group and watch guys out there in the group going, what were they doing?
They were getting that vein ready.
In the vein ready. I've seen guys doing this. What's that? Are they hungry? Some of them are hungry.
Getting that kidney.
The kidney ain't feeling good. Getting ready to do some skin popping.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, they want shooting a little bit right up under the skin.
Yeah. Yes. That's crazy you mention that because when I first got here, this Vinci had me in the office. Take assessment or whatever.
Yeah.
I had my water bottle right here. We're talking about stuff fast. For some reason, I'm here from my beer.
Yeah. Yeah.
What up there?
Yeah. So we're going to have those desires. Look, the desire is going to stay with us all the while. This is why it's important. If there's something in my life that causes me a trigger, if there's something in my life that I see is a warning sign, I need to pay attention to it. because it's going to get me if I don't watch out. I can't hang out in a bunch of triggers and not get triggered and not get caught. It's going to happen. If you pull the trigger, it's going to go off. You're going to get into it. So we're going to be feeling doubtful about whether or not we can do this. We're going to be questioning ourselves. We're going to be questioning our spirituality. You know, God can't love me anymore. Look at what's going on. I must not be doing what God would have me do. Yeah? You know, I'm going to tell you what. Most of the people you know are not doing what God would have them do. Doesn't mean He doesn't love you. Questioning my values, questioning my abilities. You know, I don't know that I can stay sober. When those things come, you need to start using your positive self-talk tool. No, yes I can. I can do this. It don't feel like it. It don't feel good right now, but I can do this. I can not. I don't have to. I can walk through this without any issue. I can do it. So, also going to have some mood swings. What is mood swing? One day, one day I'm up, one day I'm down, one day I'm up. You know, one day I'm angry, one day I'm okay. That's your body trying to normalize itself, and it will after a while, but it may take you a little bit. So you need to be real cognizant of who you are and what you're doing. Because when your significant other says something, you don't need to get real ticked off and all that because your moods are the one that's fluctuating. You're going up and down. You go to the doctor and tell him, hey, excuse me, my moods are going up and down. What are they going to do? Yeah, you'll say, ooh, that sounds like bipolarism. Let me give you some cool stuff here for bipolar, right? So now, one of the reasons we need to be here, or one of the reasons we're here, is because we have a goal. So let's clearly identify the goal. Everyone needs to have a goal. And on page, I think it's 58, on page 58 in your book, it gives you a couple of places where you can write that out. It says, look, let's clearly identify the goal. The reason I decided to get sober, get clean and sober is what? I decided to get clean and sober so I could have a normal life. I got to the point in my life, where I did not want to have to depend on a drink. I didn't want to do that anymore. So I didn't want to be there anymore. And then the very last thing, I was driving my car and I was going down the road and I had a massive wreck, just about killed myself. And when I woke up in the hospital the next day, I knew I couldn't do this anymore. So, why did I decide to make the change right now? Why right now? A lot of times it's the police to make the change for us or make the decision for us. A lot of times it is. Sometimes that's the best thing in the world that's ever happened to us. Have the police say, hey, well, it's time for you to go to treatment. Okay, time for you to go to prison and be in treatment when you're in prison. You know, sometimes that's the best thing for us. Saves our life. You know, just.
I tell you, treatment facility after treatment facility. This is the first time I've ever checked myself by myself. At first it was just so parole when I go back to prison.
Right.
But now that I've been here a little bit, man, I really feel like it was time for me to take control of my own life instead of drugs controlling my life.
That's a good point. And I think that's the place I got to. It's time for me to control me instead of the drugs controlling me. Yeah. That's a big deal. And look, here's the thing. That does not mean it's going to be the easiest thing you've ever done. It should be probably the hardest thing you've ever done.
Well, say, say something like that. Yeah. Usually it's court ordered or
Yeah.
arrested and have to come to a place like this. That's usually when people are like, I take it, don't take it so serious. Make it, make it. And I'll start using it again. This time, I actually told my parole, I suggested this place.
Yeah. And that's fantastic when we get to the place where we can say, I know I need. And then
Could it be a divine intervention?
it can be, yeah. Sometimes God will get a hold of you, and I think that's what happened in my life. If I look back down through my life, I can see 30 times. I didn't know it at the time. When he was doing it, I didn't like it. When he was doing it, I wasn't in agreement. When he was doing it, I wouldn't have taken it. I wouldn't have done it that way. But 30 years later, I'm looking back, and I say, okay, yeah. That was God that did that. And so divine intervention is absolutely one of those things. I will tell you this. I worked at the prison for 16 and a half years, and forced treatment works. You take people and put them in treatment that don't want to be there, that cuss you out for, they hate it, they don't want it, and then after they're out there, it's 3 to 6 months, and after 3 or 4 months, they get to a place where they realize, they get sober, and they realize, I do need this. This will save my life. So very quickly, we're out of time. So why did I decide to do it now? I decided to do it when I decided to do it, because if I didn't, I was going to die. I was just going to die. So that's the way that was. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Garner. Thank you, Mr. Garner.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Well, you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you, North.